Just like so many times, the Brewers will bounce back from this too. Up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank God for Will Contreras hitting that bomb on Saturday night, or we might be looking at a 3-game sweep. Brewers have been down this road before, losing a couple of games, and people are thinking, oh boy, is this the slide for the Milwaukee Brewers? Hey, they'll come bouncing back just like every other time they've been down and out. They've bounced back. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the major downloads. Of course, a growing YouTube page. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And of course, Twitter, please hit me up on Twitter. Chuck Freeman, Freimund. I assure you, I read all your comments. Even you, Charles Darwin, who will tweet at me 7 times a day. I don't care. I love them all. I don't care if you tweet me at 100 times a day. You guys all have good comments to say. You guys are vested in Brewer fans. You guys are invested in our team, the Milwaukee Brewers, as Brewer fans. So, you know what? The more the merrier. I love hearing you. I love being a sound off board for you guys. And I'm honored when something goes wrong or right with the Milwaukee Brewers. Somebody always tags me. I love that. I love that. Keep doing it. Message me, DM me, any avenue you want to take. Of course, you can message on YouTube as well on Locked On Brewers. Anyway, Brewers did lose 2 of 3 this weekend to the Houston Astros, who are playing some good ball. Got up to that slow start of the season, but they're playing some good ball. And yeah, I mean, I thought who would have guessed the one game of the 3 that they played would have been beating Verlander. You had Freddie going on Friday. You lost that one. Verlander going on Saturday. We're down in this game 4-2. And I'm like, oh boy. And they came bouncing back on Contreras' home run, and they win, and then got into a hole. Colin Rea did not have it. It was probably his worst outing of the season. Not been pitching well at all as of late. But still, at least they won one game. And that's not a loser's mentality to take. Getting swept in a 3-game series, that's a 2-game swing that won the home run that Contreras hit with the win on Wednesday night. So, 1-2. And the Brewers have had 3-game slides so far this year. Bounce back strong in all of them. They dropped 2 of 3. Hey, they have Miami this weekend, although Miami just took 3 of 4, I believe it was, from the New York Mets. I think it was a 4-game series they took 3 of 4 of. So Miami, who's not good, got a couple of nice players, but not good at all. The Brewers will face 3 lefties this week of the Marlins. That's unusual for a team to throw out 3 lefties in one series, but we'll see that. We'll talk more about that coming up here in a little bit. But Colin Rea, the starter for the Brewers, 5 runs, 4 runs, 5 runs, 8 hits. Just terrible command. Struggled from the very get-go in this outing. And hey, I'm not going to get worried. Rea has been pitching so well, beyond my expectations. And yeah, it's slid a little bit for him, but I'm fine. He's going to be okay. They'll come bouncing back. He lost Monday's game against Pittsburgh, and he got beaten this one. So yeah, he had been pitching so well. They were like 6-1 in games that he had pitched starting the week, but they were 0-2 this week, losing to Pittsburgh. And of course, losing to Houston. And then Freddie losing on Friday night. Lost there. And then today, 9-4. Made a little run there in the 7th inning where a Willy Adames warning track fly ball away from taking a 1-run lead, but it didn't go out. Now you can say it's a warning track fly ball, but that's as far as the ball landed. When somebody saves a home run or, you just missed it. I don't look at it saying, the Brewers caught a bad break, because they've caught several good breaks so far this season. And that's what sports is, some days you're going to get breaks. Some days you're not. It's never like, wow, the Brewers caught some bad breaks. They're hitting some warning track fly balls. I don't look at it that way. There's a reason, because the team on the other end is trying to get you out and kept the ball in the ballpark. So, yeah. Move on to Miami. 1-2 so far on this 9-game road trip. Colin Rea. And then, here's the thing is with the Brewers, they get behind. They get behind by a few runs. And, of course, they're not going to go to their top-of-the-line guys coming out of the bullpen. They're going to throw the Vieira and the Mitchell Whites of the world. I don't know how White is in Major League Baseball right now, because every time that guy comes in the game, I feel like he's giving up base hits and putting guys on. Gave up a 3-run jack on Sunday to Tucker, who's destroying everybody, by the way. He had 2 home runs on Sunday. But there's like 2 games of this past week where the Brewers were earlier in the week, too, when Colin Rea was on the mound. They got down, and then they brought in Vieira and White and guys like that, and then the lead widens, and the Brewers, do make a run at it, but by then, their starting pitcher is long gone, and they're throwing in Vieira and White. And I get it. When you're down by 4 runs, you're not going to go with your top-line bullpen. You aren't. You're going to go with your secondary, your innings eaters that these 2 guys are. But White has been not even an out-getter. He's got an ERA of around 7 so far. But both of these games they lost Monday and Sunday with Ray on. They left with a 3 or 4 run deficit, but then the Brewers made a run at it. But those 2 guys right there, teams added tack on runs against them and nearly made it impossible. Did make it impossible for the Brewers to catch up today. And then Monday they made a run and still lost. I believe the score was 8-6. All right. I'm going to get to Corbin Burnes as well a little bit later on here. Corbin Burnes, some of you are coming at me about the Burnes trade. How do you think of that trade? What do you think of that trade now, Freeman? That Ortiz is raking out there. What do you think of that trade now? We'll get to that coming up next here. Brewers still in first place, by the way. How about the Cubs dropping 3 of 4 at Wrigley to the Pirates this weekend? So the Brewers start the week once again in first place. Another week, another Monday we're starting, and the Brewers are in first place at 27-19, 2 games ahead of the Cubs, 6 ahead of Pittsburgh. I don't even count Pittsburgh. So I'll just go on to St. Louis. I should just skip over Pittsburgh. St. Louis is 7 out, lost again on Sunday, got destroyed. And then Cincinnati in last place, 8.5 back. Cincinnati got beat after taking one of the games against Los Angeles, the Dodgers this weekend, winning Thursday, coming back and losing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Los Angeles. They've lost 7 of their last 10. The Reds it's been a struggle for them. And I said before the season, I thought the Reds were my pick to win the division. Yeah, of course I want the Brewers to win, but I thought what the Reds had done, I thought the Reds were going to be better than this. And still, they might turn it around. It's still early yet. It's not even Memorial Day. But the Reds, I did not expect them to be in last place at this point of the season. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Policygenius. If you have kids who are getting out of college, you need to talk about them. You need to talk to them about life insurance. Maybe yourself with life insurance. Maybe for your job, you don't have enough life insurance coverage. Policygenius will help you in that area. You need life insurance to take care of your loved ones. And your kids are going to need life insurance to take care of theirs down the road. If you have used Policygenius, you'll know exactly what I am talking about. You need to check life insurance off your to-do list. I know I have. Policygenius. Policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB will get you free life insurance quotes. See how much you can save. That's their job. Their job is to get you the best available rate. Policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. You'll get free life insurance quotes with their licensed support team. They will help you out. They got no incentive here to recommend one insurer or the other. You could trust their guidance. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google. Check life insurance off your to-do list. Go to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. This is Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host here on Locked On Brewers. Contreras. How about that matchup on Saturday night? Will Contreras putting in a big at bat, following a pitch after pitch after pitch against future Hall of Famer Justin Verlander. And then Contreras goes yard, goes Yahtzee, muscles up, gets heavy, takes him deep, goes long ball, goes the distance. Contreras, a 3-run jack. And tell me, wherever you were, and I was at a Mexican restaurant enjoying some chips, salsa, and a big old margarita, my first of 2 margaritas on the night, and watching the game on the big screen TV there and enjoying my chips and salsa. And when Contreras hit that home run, the place exploded because everybody was watching that at bat in that bar restaurant that I was in. Everybody was watching that at bat by Contreras. Could feel something was going to happen. One of the best hitters in baseball right now against Justin Verlander, and Contreras won that battle. Wow, what a big moment that was. And again, huge win because it avoids the 3-game sweep. But Contreras did have his consecutive on-base streak ended at 25. He took an 0 for 5. Rarely do you see Contreras take an 0 for 5, but he did. He did on Sunday afternoon. So Brian Keller was DFA'd by the White Sox. Interesting. Brad Keller. DFA'd by the White Sox. Interesting to see that happen here today. Corbin Burnes, you ask. Corbin Burnes, 6 innings. He went and started on Sunday, 6 innings, 11 Ks. He's got an ERA of 2.51. 2.51. Somebody asked me, a few of you guys came after me in the last week. And I know some of you guys, some people will come after me, this hot takes exposed thing. If things aren't going, let's say if I make a prediction or say something on Twitter, people will dig it up and they'll say, well, you said this. But of course, if you're right on anything, if you say something and it turns out to be just right, you'll never hear from anybody. And I'm not saying I'm wrong or right in this case with Corbin Burnes, but somebody said, how would you like to have that trade back now? Because I said all along, gosh, I wish I could have that trade back because the Brewers do need starting pitching, and they do need starting pitching. And yes, as good as Ortiz has been, he's batting .292, he's got 5 home runs, and he's been terrific so far. But I think the Brewers could really use a Burnes for this season. And I know long term, and as good as Ortiz has been so far, I'm one of these guys who lets it marinate a little bit, let it play out a little bit. I'm not going to jump all in on Ortiz, okay? I'm not going to do that. I was like that with Frelick last year too. Let's let it marinate. Let's see how he lasts. Okay, I'm not saying he's not going to be any good. I'm just saying let's marinate that a little bit. But I know what Corbin Burnes could do for me. A 2.51 ERA, 11 Ks over 6 innings. I want to hear anybody tell me about that Arizona playoff game last year. All right? We've talked about that one enough. But I know Burnes, big time pitcher. Okay? Yes, I would love to have Burnes in this rotation. Give me Burnes. Come on. If you give me Burnes in this rotation right now, we would feel a lot better of their chances of winning the NL Central. I know some of you are going to say, well, he was going to walk anyway at the end of the season. I get that. I understand that. But I'm looking at this season, and I like this team. But I think they could use a guy like Burnes in this rotation. I do. And I know some of you are going to disagree with me and say, well, Ortiz, I'm going to let it marinate. And maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not wrong yet. I'm not right on this. I'm not wrong on this. But my opinion, I would like to have Burnes still on this team, even though Ortiz is doing a hell of a job. So I just want to throw that out there because I know some of you have been coming after me on that with the Ortiz thing, and Burnes. But Burnes just continues to pitch well. Continues to pitch well in Baltimore. We knew that. You can't deny that Corbin Burnes is a great pitcher. And I know a lot of you were down on him. I get that. But man, this guy is Cy Young Cy Young abilities. And I know they weren't going to sign him long-term. And that's what sucks about baseball. As much as we love baseball, how you have to trade a guy because you can't afford his big contract. Name me a sport where you could do that in. NBA? No. NFL? No. There are special rules where you could re-sign your stars. Baseball doesn't have any of that, which is absolutely foolish. Absolutely foolish that you have to take risks, and it appears to be a calculated one on a player like Jackson Chourio. Like Kansas City has got to do the same, sign their guy long-term, Bobby Witt, because let's face it, he was going to walk in free agency at the end of, his 6 years with Kansas City. You got to do those sort of things and just hope that the player bites on some financial security. I don't like that way of playing. It's never going to change in baseball, but yeah, it really absolutely sucks in baseball that, it has come down to us thinking, well, we got to trade Ortiz because we're going to lose him at the end of the season because there's no way we can sign him. Or we got to trade Burnes at the end of the season because there's no way we can re-sign him. Let's just gamble. We can get a couple of prospects and hopefully hope and pray that it pans out. Hope and pray it pans out. In this case, let's let it marinate with Ortiz. The early returns are good. I just would love to have Corbin Burnes on this team. All right, we return. We'll look at this Miami series coming up. This 3-game set with Miami on the road. There'll be about 3 or 4 people at some of those games in Miami because they don't go to games. People do not go to games down there. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And Yahoo Finance. Yahoo Finance is the way to go if you want to get your financial information for anything. I mean, it's been there it has stood the test of time. Yahoo Finance has been helping people and breaking news and having the news on the market for a good part of 20 years. It can't be measured. You can see with Yahoo Finance all your investment and the retirement accounts in one place. You can consolidate your views with multiple accounts into one hub on Yahoo Finance. You have an investment account with Schwab, let's say, a 401k with Fidelity. Well, Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate them in one place, and it'll make it incredibly easy to manage. You don't have to go here, there, or everywhere. And plus, all the Yahoo Finance, all the news, all the financial news every day, it's the first place you should turn to every day. Yahoo Finance. YahooFinance.com for comprehensive finance news and analysis every day. Visit the brand behind every great investor. Yahoo Finance has been there for years, and they'll continue to help you out. YahooFinance.com, where you can consolidate all your information right there. All right, Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Also, I've been telling you about game day, game time, on game day, where you can buy tickets on game day, even a few minutes after the game has started. I've gotten great seats behind the dugout at AmFam Field, real good seats at Milwaukee Bucks games, concerts, you have it. And especially when you get right down to the wire and those prices start dropping, I love it because you look at the app and you can see all the prices and you see them change. And you say, wow, there's a $24 seat right here. Second deck at AmFam Field. I'm taking it. Touch the view, and it's golden. You're like, man, I'll like it. So you get to the ballpark. Yep, this is the exact same seat that I bought. Perfect. In a couple of clicks, you are right on. You need to download the Game Time app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Game Time app, download it today. And again, use that promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Hey, man, it's a way to go. Locked On MLB Game Time app. And just theater, concerts. It's going to be a big concert summer in the state of Wisconsin. Game Time has tickets to all these events. Check it out right now. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. We're coming right back. Welcome back to Locked On Brewers. Chuck Freeman, your host. Here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. The 13-32 Miami Marlins just took a series from the New York Mets I'm going to take a quick drink here. Lemonade. Straight lemonade, diet lemonade, nothing in that lemonade. Not when we're on the air. In fact, I don't even keep alcohol in my house, to be honest with you. No alcohol. If we're going to have a drink of something at the ballpark, paying $10 for a beer or, a cocktail somewhere, always go out for it. I don't know what made me bring that up, but the Miami Marlins just beat the Mets. The Mets are just a tough team to figure out. I mean, and in baseball, anybody can always beat anybody, as we know. Hard to believe, as bad as the Marlins organization has been, they got 2 more World Series titles than the Milwaukee Brewers. How about that? And they did that in the first, 10, 11 years of their franchise. It's been a struggle since then in the last 20 or so. But they've gone to the ground floor a few times. They've been in the postseason since then. But right now, it is a struggle for the Marlins. They're not good. Their offense is terrible, one of the worst offenses in baseball. Their defense, they kick the ball around, bad. They're throwing 3 lefties against the Brewers this week. Ryan Weathers on Monday night, Taylor Rogers, who should be better than he is. And I do not have the starter for Game 3, although the Brewers are starting Freddie Peralta. Gasser is starting on Tuesday. And Monday night, Joe Ross makes a start, pitched well in his last outing. Hopefully, Ross can keep this going, as he's been giving him a big boost for a guy really nobody depended on, but the Brewers are counting on him a lot, and they are delivering. Might be a big night for the bullpen. We'll see. Bullpen should be fresh after the Brewers use most of their secondary bullpen in Sunday's 9-4 loss. But, yeah, the Marlins are bringing up the rear in the National League East. It's a tough division. But, again, a series that the Brewers got to go in there and take care of business. They got to go with their hit and get good pitching. And, in baseball, can't overlook anybody, as we know. 13-32, or 13-32 I got, or 15-32 I got them. Didn't mean my writing was a little off there. 15-32. But hopefully the Brewers can go in there, win that series, and then move on to Fenway Park Memorial Day weekend. And I heard a lot of people, just ran into a guy this past weekend out on the golf course, told me he was going to Fenway Park over the weekend and driving out there. How about that? Driving out to Fenway. Hey, whatever it takes. I have never been to Fenway. Have not been to Fenway Park. Would love to go. I was talking to Bill Michaels on his show the other day. Man, I'd love to make a trip to Fenway. And, of course, with the way the schedule is now, where you'll see these teams. I mean, you have a chance in a couple of years to see Boston again at Fenway if you want to go. But this would be like the perfect weekend, Memorial Day weekend. My kid's got a Little League tournament this weekend, Memorial Day. Great time for it, huh? So no trips for me on Memorial Day weekend. But we'll be watching it on the tube. But let's get through this Miami series first. By the way, the 20th anniversary of Ben Sheets throwing his 18 strikeouts. 2004. I'll remember it. It was a Sunday afternoon because I took my son. My son was really, really small, and I took him to his first game. And I texted him tonight and said, hey, remember Dad took you to your first Brewer game when Ben Sheets, and I remember the Brewers announcing when he had his 10-year anniversary of his 18 strikeout game, which is still a Brewer record, and now his 20th anniversary, Ben Sheets. But I'll remember that day for taking my son. And I think a lot of you guys out there, ladies too, will remember the first game you took your kid to a Brewer game. Certainly, I remember the first Brewers game I went to, 1975, doubleheader versus the Red Sox. The starting pitcher for the Red Sox, the first of a doubleheader. I was really young, so I barely remember it, but he took a no-hitter into the 9th inning with 2 outs, and it was broken up by George Scott. First game, had no idea what was going on. Rick Wise, the Red Sox, takes a no-hitter into the 9th inning with 2 outs, and haven't had, in the thousands of games I've seen at County Stadium and AmFam Field since then, literally thousands of games, I have not seen anybody taking a no-hitter into the 9th inning since then. Take that back. Nolan Ryan did in 1989, I guess. I think it was 89 against the Brewers. Terry Francona broke up that no-hitter for the Brewers. All right, but you all remember the first time you took your son or daughter or your dad took you to the ball game. You all remember that, right? Put your comments on. Tweet me on that. Let me know. I like to hear about some of the comments you all going to your first ever Brewer game as a kid. My son, Casey, first game, Sheets, 18 Ks. My daughter's first basketball game, Michael Red, 57 points against and her second game was, God, I can't remember what the second game was. Something big happened in that second game as well. But the first game, Michael Red lit it up. Hey, I'm getting off track here. This is Chuck Freeman. Thanks everybody for joining us. You get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, on all the major downloads. And of course, look me up on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. And of course, our growing YouTube page, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. You watching us on YouTube, I'm throwing up the Moose Haas autograph picture, probably from 1979 or so. Moose Haas, the one-time Milwaukee Brewer, who one time had 14 strikeouts in the game. I think Ben Sheets broke the Moose Haas record for most strikeouts in a game. The 14 strikeouts he had against the Yankees. I think it was 79 or 78. It's going to do it. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So long, everybody.